Nobody has stretched their 15 minutes of fame longer than Haley Welch. What she's done in the last 6 months will be studied by marketing agencies for years to come. Yet it's all come crashing down with an obvious crypto rug pull that's put her on hiatus and gotten her sued for over $150,000. This is about the incentive structure behind internet scams. Why no one was surprised when someone with no talent got caught up in a crypto grift, and why else will keep happening again and again. It's never been easier to be a bad person on the internet, but Haw Tua girl's crypto rug pull wasn't malevolent. It was ordinary, thoughtless, and banal. Something that can only happen when we're all disconnected from the consequences of our actions, and an act that anybody in her position would have committed. We can't judge Haley for scamming her audience the same way you can't judge a wolf for killing a deer. She was doing exactly what was expected of her, exactly what's expected of all of us. The banality of internet evil. I'm assuming everybody with the wherewithal to click on a video with Haw Tua in the title knows what happened. But if you don't, let me just catch you up as fast as possible. Haley Welch, a drunk blonde on the streets of Nashville, gets approached by an alpha male men's advice TikToker. He asks her what men like in the bedroom, and she says this.
Oh, you gotta give him that Haw Tua and spit on that thing, you get me?
And that... One sec. Hey, baby. No, it's a podcast for men. You're not allowed to watch it. No, little kittens like you wouldn't understand. You wouldn't understand the knowledge being dropped by rapist Hitler 1488. Fast forward 6 months and she's getting interviewed by TMZ, getting hired to appear at clubs, and starting her very own podcast. The Haw Tua podcast. The podcast was advertised as her attempt to tell her story, as it's all a bit of a mystery how someone who did nothing ended up with a podcast that charted on Spotify's top 10. However, this all makes more sense when you find out that Haw Tua is licensed under Better, a sports betting service co-owned by Jake Paul. And there's this sense that the people behind the podcast are in on their own joke.
Check out my podcast every week, Haw Tua, where I'm sitting down with the coolest guests and having actual conversations with them. And Pookie.
Who is Pookie? Who is Pookie?
He may stop by too.
Everything is going absolutely swimmingly for Haley until she starts advertising a meme token called Hawkcoin in collaboration with Over Here, a Web3 launch service, and LA DJ Alex Larson Soltz. The project would launch on December 4th and was advertised to Haley's audience as a long-term investment into her community. It was also advertised as a way for people who are uneducated in Web3 to get into crypto, something that is explicitly stated in their pitch deck, which is fucking hilarious if you don't know how this ends. What Haley's audience didn't know is that 97% of the tokens were held by 10 interconnecting accounts, which all promptly sold on the token's public launch, tanking the value by 93% from its peak of $490 million. The initial investors made off with over $3 million, and the people left holding were down $155,000 collectively. 10 of those investors are now suing Alex Schultz and Over Here to recoup their losses. Over Here has stated they weren't complicit in the scam, stating they were just there to set up the infrastructure and truly believed in the project. Alex Schultz is completely off-grid, and Haley Welch has gone silent on social media.
Hey guys, I hate to interrupt you, Nick. Hello there. But anywho, I'm gonna go to bed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.
She hasn't uploaded a single episode of the beloved Haw Tua podcast since the crypto fiasco on December 4th. Now this was bound to happen. Famed internet anthropologist Turkey Tom opened his video on the scandal stating that 15 minutes of fame on the internet has 3 endings: OnlyFans, political grifting, and crypto scams. Notably, he calls the crypto scam the natural conclusion to the Haw Tua girl's career, something almost everyone expected. Now don't get me wrong, political grifting and OnlyFans were certainly on the table for Haley Welch, but the writing was on the wall the second she announced her own meme coin. Now none of this is a surprise. But what I'm asking is why we know none of this is a surprise. Why this played out exactly how we expected to, and why it will continue to play out again and again. Logan Paul scammed his audience of mostly children with CryptoZoo. Stock photos of animals where he made almost $2 million. Chad, is this real? Save the Kids coin, a token whose proceeds were donated partially to underprivileged children, was pushed by Rice Gum, Summer Rae, and FaZe Clan, and also ended up being a scam. What's great about this one is there was actually a mechanism in place to prevent people from dumping the token all at once. But minutes before the launch, the influencers got the devs to remove that very feature. Kim Kardashian pumped a coin called Ethereum Max only to dump it immediately. Andrew Tate, Lindsay Lohan, even our beloved Mr. Beast, the list goes on. Now by this point, hopefully it's clear to everybody that this isn't an accident. These are systemic behaviors, not anomalies. This isn't wealthy people making a little crypto oopsie. This is a feature of the system. This is a rational endeavor to undertake once you have the wealth to do so. The same way you're encouraged to buy income properties, take shady sponsorships, and sell courses. It's a smart financial decision. This leads us to possibly the most upsetting trait about human nature. Evil acts are almost always ordinary and banal. Something that is only possible when we're disconnected from the consequences of our actions and working in lockstep with everyone around us. And something that grows ever more prevalent with the internet. Luckily, someone wrote on this very phenomenon. A political philosopher named Hannah Arendt, commenting on the trial of the Nazi bureaucrat Adolf Eichmann, came to the same conclusion. She subtitled her book, The Banality of Evil. And it's one of the most uncomfortable books ever written. Adolf Eichmann was a Nazi bureaucrat whose primary responsibility was the transportation of Jews around Europe. Before the Holocaust, his job was to deport Jews and transport them to ghettos. Once the Holocaust started, his job was to transport them to concentration camps. Eichmann spent his time with the Nazi Party behind a desk, signing papers and finalizing plans that killed millions of people. After the Nazis lost World War II, the Nuremberg trials were held, where the Allied powers charged and sentenced many members of the Nazi Party with war crimes, most of whom were sentenced to death. However, Eichmann evaded these trials as he escaped to Argentina before he could be captured, where he would spend the next 15 years of his life under a fake identity. It wasn't until 1960 that he would be finally captured and sent to Jerusalem to stand trial for his crimes. Enter Hannah Arendt, a German Jewish political philosopher tasked by the New Yorker by covering the trial of one of the most evil men alive. Hannah was the perfect woman for the job, as she had spent her whole career studying the origins of totalitarianism and writing on why man was now so apt to commit evil acts, stating in previous works that the alienation of individuals, the erosion of the public sphere, and the bureaucratization of politics made evil and totalitarian regimes ever more likely to take root in society. Hannah, like everyone attending the trial, was preparing herself to see the face of true evil. But what she saw was not what she expected. As Eichmann stood trial, it was immediately evident that this was no supervillain, but a regular and unremarkable man. Someone who was meek, nervous, and with no real ideological convictions. Eichmann, like the jury, knew that no matter how the trial played out, he would be charged guilty and sentenced to hang, just like his Nazi colleagues were during the Nuremberg trials. Eichmann had every opportunity to spout anti-Semitic remarks, spit on the judge, and stand by what people assumed him to believe in. But this is not what he did. Throughout the trial, Hannah saw that Eichmann repeated he was just following orders. Not in an apologetic way, but just as a matter of fact. When Eichmann was asked what he was thinking when he sent Jews to their death, he would comment on promotions he received from such acts, lunches he would have with high-ranking Nazi officials, and how fast he rose through the ranks of the party. When asked what he had to say for himself, he wouldn't delve into well-thought-out arguments driven by his deep ideological convictions. Rather, he would repeat hokey cliches and toe the party line, seeming neither evil nor particularly intelligent. It soon became clear to Hannah that Eichmann was an unremarkable man, someone who was driven not by personal convictions, but by not asking questions and seeking acceptance from others. However, this didn't mean that Eichmann's acts weren't abhorrent, and this didn't mean that Eichmann himself wasn't free of judgment because of his position. Her conclusion was far more frightening than this. She concluded that, just like Eichmann, evil itself was ordinary and banal, and that anybody could be capable of the acts Eichmann had committed. Writing on this, she stated that evil is never radical, only extreme. Evil is senseless and born from a lack of conviction, not a surplus. Evil is what happens when you mindlessly toe the party line and do exactly what is expected of you without question. The book Hannah wrote in 1963 nearly destroyed her career. To say that Eichmann wasn't an evil mastermind, to say that he was just an ordinary person, was to spit in the face of everything we assumed about the Nazis and was deemed downright offensive to Jewish people. Hannah took a major risk in writing this book, yet it remains one of the most important books of the 20th century. It gives us a way to categorize evil that might actually prevent evil things from happening. If we go around indicting every evil act as being born from the minds of people who are deeply intelligent, logical, and driven by hatred, then it makes us powerless to understand how evil actually works. However, if we see evil as banal and unextraordinary, it gives us the tool to recognize the forces behind the evil acts. For Hannah, these forces were alienation and a lack of moral conviction that allows you to end up in scenarios where you're going to commit evil acts. You're going to commit these evil acts when you don't see the outcomes of your actions, when you don't know any better because of your position in society or the people that surround you. And this brings us back to Haw Tua girl. Now, I'm not about to compare Haley Welch to a Nazi war criminal, harbinger of death, the likes of which gave the entirety of Western culture PTSD, am I? No. But I am going to compare the nature of banal evil to Haley's actions behind Hawkcoin, and how the internet makes the banality of evil ever easier to fall into. How the system itself continues to drive creators to act without thinking, whether it be crypto scams, harmful content, or shitty behavior in general. The banality of evil on the internet, something far more relevant and far more terrifying. Going forward, when I say evil, I'll be referring to the banality of evil. Not evil as malicious behavior, but evil as unextraordinary and happenstance behavior. The internet makes this sort of evil so easy to commit, and it does so in 3 ways. Those being anonymity, expedience, and isolation. I keep seeing this meme of people using shopping carts as a moral litmus test. If you will, the shopping trolley problem. When you're done with a cart after packing your groceries, you have 2 options. 1. Return the cart to the cart corral. 2. Leave the cart where it was when you finished with it. If you return the cart, nothing happens and you drive away. If you leave the cart, a man hired by the store takes the cart and puts it in the corral. The only difference between these 2 scenarios is slightly inconveniencing a man with no repercussions to your own life. How we behave under the guise of anonymity is a good judge of our character. On the internet, we all have the anonymity of a car in a parking lot, and we are all faced with the ordinary choice of conducting ourselves morally or not. We are all one of thousands of comments that are all weighted the same in a sea of posts and replies. Something the author Byung-Chul Han would call the loneliness of the digital swarm. Under this veil, your cruelty, your hubris, your faceless conspiracy theory TikTok channel that makes $700 USD a month in recurring revenue all goes unpunished, with no ramifications. Inversely, your effort to act morally and thoughtfully on the internet will go unthanked. Your deeds will go unrecognized. And the only thing that decides this is you. Do you have the character to act well under the veil of anonymity? Now you're probably saying Haley Welch isn't some anonymous shitposter. She's an extremely famous public figure. And to that, I say yes. But that doesn't mean her acts aren't anonymous. Her and her team still operate many degrees of separations away from the outcomes of their actions. Haley hasn't and probably never will meet the people who lost their life savings on Hawkcoin. She'll never feel empathy for them. She'll never feel their personal ostracization. To Haley, the victims of Hawkcoin exist as names in articles and angry tweets. The same way Haley exists to them as just a collection of videos and podcast episodes. This is much different than personally slighting somebody or scamming somebody face to face. The degrees of separation and anonymity on the internet allow evil to become thoughtless, the same way bureaucracy allows evil to become thoughtless. Now this is coupled with the expediency of the internet. You're always 3 seconds away from saying or doing whatever you want. There's no friction between your shitty, misinformed takes on geopolitics just being thoughts and being viral tweets. And this lack of friction increases every day. The elimination of friction between thought and action is what makes the internet appealing. It's what makes it so great in the first place. Expediency and convenience is the #1 selling point for any new platform trying to stake its claim. TikTok made entertainment faster than ever, so YouTube had to make shorts to keep up with it. Reddit condensed forums down to 1 website, so you don't have to keep finding multiple websites to post. Amazon has everything you need, so you don't have to go to physical stores. But for everything on the internet that makes life more seamless, there's a negative that makes evil more prevalent. On the internet, you're always a few clicks away from doing something horrible. You could dox somebody, you could post revenge porn, you could scam somebody, you could spread misinformation. Look, I'm like an R-list celebrity, and the only thing preventing me from rug pulling my audience for, let's be honest here, like $900 is a day to set up the coin. However, anonymity and expedience are nothing without isolation. These are like having 3 legendary jokers in Balatro. I think. I didn't get that far in the game, it was too addicting, I had to hide it from myself. When I'm referring to isolation, I'm not talking about the fact you're literally alone when you're operating online. I'm referring to the fact that we all operate as our own economic units. Free from our communities, rid of our third places and the public sphere, we all act as our own master and our own slave. When you're decoupled from the culture that raised you, there is no system that checks your actions. There is no guilt when you disobey the social contract. There's no shame when you act harmfully. There's just you and your ability to make a profit by any means necessary, serving nobody's interest but your own. This is rational behavior. This is what is expected of you. This is what we praise each other for online. Your ability to be successful on the internet is the most valuable asset you can have. Your economic ability was once invariably tied to the value you produced for society. You could set up a shop where there was none, fill a hole in the market, and provide a service to the community. You could invent something that didn't exist and revolutionize the way we live our lives. You could produce a beautiful piece of art that becomes canon in a culture's myth building. We used to reward value with money. But capital always seeks the highest profit with the least amount of work, and the internet has expedited this process of money with no value, profit with no work. Not only has it expedited the process, it's made it the primary mode of being for anybody operating on the internet. I'm sure most people would be ecstatic to change places with Haley Welch, to cash in on this new economy, to pull what Haley pulled. Haley Welch won the lottery. This video is about the systemic structure that makes internet evil so ordinary. Haley's exploitation of her own fame to scam her audience for the benefit of her career should come as a surprise to nobody. But this doesn't mean we should paint Haw Tua girl as uniquely evil. When talking about what Haley did, to say that her and her team are uniquely malevolent misses the key factors that allow things like this to keep happening. And just like Hannah Arendt's conclusion on the trial of Adolf Eichmann, it leaves us powerless to prevent evil from happening. To help rectify this, we have to recognize our lack of ability to act thoughtfully, and the lack of the systems that used to encourage us to act thoughtfully. I don't have a strong prescription on what to do here. Correcting the problems of the internet has been the project of most thinkers for the past 20 years. Nothing I've gone over in this video is novel or revolutionary. At best case scenario, this video exists as a reminder that this is just how people behave online, and this is what we have to deal with. It's built into the system. All you can do is pay attention. Pay attention to the forces driving your actions. Pay attention to the forces driving others' actions. And try to be a moral beacon for others to emulate. And never forget what evil actually is. Ordinary, thoughtless, and banal. Think deeply, move carefully. Always ask the best from yourself. Don't invest in something called fucking Hawkcoin. And never kill yourself.